Hello everybody, welcome back to Kanga TV, the home of North Melbourne fans, and welcome to the very first episode of Shinboner Stories. I hope that this becomes the flagship program of Kanga TV. There is nothing I love more than meeting other North Melbourne people and hearing about their stories and what connects them to the club. We all have such a special connection to the football club, and it's something that is so special and so unique to North Melbourne, and it's something that I can't wait to shed some light on. I suppose starting with myself makes sense, seeing as that I've just launched this YouTube channel and what I believe will be more than just a passion, a passion project of mine. I hope it grows into something more, and hopefully you guys enjoy the content and can help me make that dream a reality together. So you know why I started Kanga TV, but not a lot of people know my full backstory about being a North Melbourne supporter. So I thought that would really give some context to my love for the club and hopefully some context as to why I want to do this and share the stories of so many other people who have dedicated, most of their lives to the football club. My journey with the North Melbourne Football Club officially began on Saturday night, the 28th of July, 2001, when I went with my dad to the MCG to watch North take on Brisbane. And I didn't know it at the time, but my life was set to change forever. I grew up in a household with a very, very passionate North Melbourne supporting dad who does play a huge part in my North Melbourne story, before me and even still now, over 2 decades on. And we went for the first time together, and I don't know if I ever really loved it from the start. My memories of that first game are pretty scarce, and I don't have too many memories of the football up until about 2 years in. Late in 2003, we played Fremantle at the MCG in a heritage round, and we lost by a point. The score was 99 to 98 or something like that. And that's my first memory I really have of football, is I stood outside the MCG and I just sobbed. And I was like, are they ever going to win a game? Dad, am I ever going to see them win a game? And he looked at me and he said, Marnie, the next game I bring you to, I promise that they'll win. And if they don't, then you never have to come with me ever again. And I believed him. And little did I know the next game I'd be going to was the last game of the round. Of the season in 2003, we played Carlton. And I believe Carlton was very, very, very much lowly rock bottom of the ladder. And we ended up winning by 124 points. And that is, I think, well and truly where my love affair with the North Melbourne Football Club began. We grew up sitting in the North Melbourne members section, R34, to Telstra Dome, what it was back then. That is really how it all began. There are so many incredible memories I've got, even from as a young kid, watching Daniel Wells on the boundary in like his second or third AFL game slot a goal from outside 50 at a really tight angle to win us a thrilling game against Carlton. There were a number of scenarios where Shannon Grant won us the game off his own boot in that sort of 2004, 2005 years. And I liked going to the football. It was just Dad and I, and it later became my younger brother started coming with us as well. And it was just special. It was, we're a really close family, but it was just this unique bond and this unique passion that we all shared. And it's amazing what football can do, is that it can mean so much in the moment. And I've had my moments where, Interchange Gate last year, sorry to bring that up, but I didn't talk to anyone for like a solid 24 hours after we lost that game to Sydney. I just was in shock and I couldn't believe it. And on the flip side, during COVID in 2020, sitting in front of my TV at home with my dad with takeaway every Saturday night, and while I was watching us get pumped week in, week out, it was weirdly soothing, and it was nice to have something that mattered nothing at all keep us going from week to week. And I think that's the impact that it had for so many people on week to week. I was going to the football every week. I didn't realize how much of an impact it would have on my life up until 2007, 2008, when we were in talks with the AFL to potentially relocate to the Gold Coast. And my dad was part of the We Are North Melbourne group, which was a huge supporter lobby group, which was a main part in keeping us in Melbourne and at Arden Street. And I remember there was quite a few rallies going on around the time that the decisions were being made and the main conversations were being had. And I said to my dad, I want to go to the rally. And he said, no, you're too young, it's dangerous, and I just don't think it's appropriate. But I wanted to go to those rallies so badly. And while I didn't end up going, I knew in my heart that I wanted to go and fight for the club. And I think that's sort of, you're old enough at that point. I think I was 12 or 13. And you kind of, at that point, you're conscious enough to kind of know what's going on and understand that, you know, something that means so much to you could be taken away. And I've always loved going to the games, and going on a weekly basis has been part of my total footy experience and my world and footy as I know it. But I think in those moments, it really hit me that, you know, nothing is guaranteed, and there is no, you know, we came so close to losing something that we love so much, then I'll do anything now to try and support the club and be there week in, week out. And as tough as it has been, especially in recent seasons, you know, I still don't waver, and I'm still there, and I still show up basically every week as I can. So we've travelled a little bit for the footy. We went to Canberra and we played games in Monica. I've been to Adelaide before, Tassie, Perth, but really it's my dad, my brother and I going to Marvel or going to the MCG and watching North play week in, week out has been, you know, a real staple of my footballing life. And up until 2011, it's all I really knew. It was me, dad and Dill going to the footy, and that's all I really knew. Until I made the decision in 2011 to start my first blog, The North Melbourne Opinion, which so many of you still remember, and I'm so grateful for that. And that opened up a whole new world for me. I connected for the first time with other North fans. I was the only North supporter in my year growing up at school, and that was fine. I had no issue with that. I knew I didn't know any better. I knew a few other people who went for North in other years, but, you know, it really was very much insular between me, my dad and my brother for, you know, the first 17 years of my life, until I opened those doors and entered a world that I didn't even know existed beyond my small circle. And to start connecting with other North fans, I mean, some people watching this have known me for 13 years, which is insane to think. And it's crazy to think how many opportunities and people I've met. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to do this series, is I didn't know that there was a whole nother world. And I guess social media back in 2011 was very different to how social media looks now. But I didn't know the world that lay beyond my world and my bubble. And I didn't realize, I know my story is unique, but in so many ways it's not. And there are so many other stories and so many incredible stories that people have to share that I've already heard, and that I can't wait to be able to dive in a bit deeper and share with all of you. Because the club, to me, yes, it is a big passion of mine and it's a big love of mine. And over the last 13 years, it's been something that I've written on and spoken about. And now I've started a YouTube channel dedicated to the club and following, you know, its every move. But that's what I see the club as. For other people, it's saved their lives. For other people, it's the last memory they have between them and a loved one that they've lost. For others, it's been the difference between getting through a difficult period in their life and not. And for so many others, you know, players and staffers, past and present, it has been their entire world for decades, you know. And a lot of North people, when they leave in an official capacity, it's so often that they come back. And I think we've seen, you know, from the likes of Sonia Hood or someone like Boomer or Anthony Stevens and Andrew Swallow, and these people who have kept coming back to the club. Sonia Hood was a supporter, and she's worked her way into a position now. And I think that's what makes her so important to the fans, because at her core, she's just like all of us. So I think that's why I wanted to start Shinboner Stories, and that was sort of went hand in hand with the idea of starting Kanga TV. Footy is so much more than analysis and stats. What makes the special moment so special is the emotion. I think I speak for most North fans my age and younger that 2014 elimination final against Essendon is the closest thing I've ever felt to pure ecstasy and pure joy after a game. And I'll never forget when we won that game. There was a lady sitting in front of me. I don't know her at all. But when we won that game, she was a North supporter too, and like she turned around to me and gave me the biggest hug. And like, this is a complete stranger. And I know we've all had those moments. And I think in recent years as North, has won less games during the home and away season. The Cam Zurhaar game, the King of Marvel, round 18, 2022 against Richmond, that's another one that sticks out in my mind as something that's like just, that is one of the closest things I've ever felt to like sheer euphoria and just sheer joy and like happiness I can't explain. And it's just so funny what emotion can do for you. After that game, after that final in 2014, we beat Essendon on the Saturday night, and the Sunday I went and met a friend in Chapel Street. And I'm so sorry to my parents if you're watching this, but I actually went and met a friend on Chapel Street, and I parked my car, and I was parking in a car park, and I'd swung out too wide, and I had like just dented the front of my car a little bit, and there was like a bit of like white stripe paint down the front. And I got out the car, I parked properly, I got out the car, I looked at it, I literally couldn't care less. And then me and my North scarf went on out to go meet my girlfriend. And it's just so funny because literally nothing was stopping me that day. Like nothing was gonna bring my mood down because North had just won this final. I mean, it's completely insane. And I think saying that, there's going to be people watching and being like, there's something seriously wrong with her. But then on the flip side, there's going to be people who can completely relate, because that is the chokehold, emotional stranglehold that football can have on us and can have on our moods and impact us. That's probably I think for a lot of people, that's definitely a strong memory. That game against Richmond in 2022, I was living in Perth in the first half of 2022, and I wasn't at the win against West Coast in round 2 that season, which was a bit of a weird one. West Coast had like a VFL side fielded because I had so many players out due to COVID. And for a lot of people there, it felt like a bit of a loss. But that win was the first win that we had in Melbourne since 2019, so since pre-COVID. So for a lot of people it was special, and you know, especially for people who love going, but I wasn't there. And the next win was Patch Adams' first game in charge after David Noble was sacked against Richmond at Marvel, the Cam Zurhaar King of Marvel game. And I remember I was with my dad and my brother, and I swear I just jumped for like 5 minutes. Even now, like thinking about it, the joy that it brings me thinking about that game. And I met some friends out for dinner after that game, and I jumped on the tram and I went down Burke Street, and the tram was pumping. People were singing the song and they were cheering and chanting. I mean, it's incredible what it means to us. And I walked in that restaurant, I had my North scarf on, and like I started screaming, and the whole restaurant erupted and like fully started clapping their hands and cheering, and incredible. Like it is just, it's actually so unbelievable as to what football can do, and especially people who are so passionate about it. And I think I've had a few reminders over the past few seasons as to how much it really does mean to me. I've lived in Sydney and Perth, and there was a COVID lockdown in the middle of that, so there was no footy after round 1 in 2020 in Melbourne. I lived in Sydney at the end of 2018, and I lived in Perth in 2021 and the start of 2022, and not being able to go to many games in person was difficult. It was really, really tough. And that, like I said at the start, like that's always been the biggest part of my football story, going with my dad and my brother and sharing those victories with them. When we played the Gold Coast, it was on my birthday, and I had like 30 of my closest family and friends come with to that game, which was just the most incredible experience. And one of my girlfriends took a video of my dad and I hugging each other. I think we did fall over on that final siren, because it was just, I can't even describe what it means sometimes. It's indescribable. It exceeds logic, because really at the end of the day, it's just a game. But for so many of us, it's more than just a game. For those who don't know what it feels like, it's really hard to explain it. And the only way I could explain it is if someone had a similar relationship with a passion they have. Say it's a soccer team or a rugby team or a basketball team or something like that. F1's really big. So that's sort of how I feel about football. I guess the last part, and I don't want to say the last part because my football journey really is still, has so many more chapters to come. But over the past 12 months, this past year, season 2024, has probably been a life-changing one for me once again. I joined Josh as the co-host of Further North. I also joined the Besties, and the amount of people that I've met over the past 6 to 8 months over the season, is just phenomenal. I mean, I go to every game, and the amount of people that I see and get to talk to and meet and learn little bits about them is such an honor, and it's such a joy. And I guess that also was a catalyst for me wanting to start the YouTube channel. There's so much analysis out there, and there's so much opinion, and I'll bring that to Kanga TV, but I think it's the stories that really connect us to footy. It's the connection with each other that connects us further to footy. And I guess that's something that I want to do that's different. North is a small club. It's a very special club, and I feel so lucky to be a North supporter. The things that I get to experience, I don't get to experience my club playing on Anzac Day in front of 95,000 fans at the MCG. I've been to those games and they're amazing, and I've been to plenty of big blockbuster sellout games at the G, and there's no doubting that they're incredible, but I get to spend 2 hours on a Tuesday night playing trivia with Hugh Greenwood, who is my favourite player and has now become one of my closest friends. It's crazy. I don't know how many people would get the opportunity to say that, and I'm so privileged to be in that position. I'm so privileged to be in a position that I get to share the highs and lows of football with a co-host on a podcast, and with so many fans pre and post game if we're lucky enough to win, and other friends that I've made through the club. It's just remarkable, and it's so incredible, and I pinch myself every day because I know this is such a fortunate position to be in, and I just can't wait to share that with more people, because I know how lucky I am to be in this position, and I want everyone else to be lucky enough to hear these stories and to just uncover how special this football club really is. Well, there you have it. That is my Shinboner story. That is a little insight into my life growing up as a North Melbourne supporter. Not by choice, but I definitely wouldn't have it any other way being here. If you did like this video, make sure to like and subscribe down the bottom. We have got so many incredible stories to tell. Trust me, you don't want to miss any of them. Most of them are a lot more interesting than mine. I can promise you that. If you want to stay up to date with everything across socials as well, it is just Kanga TV Show on Instagram and on Twitter. If you do want to share your Shinboner story with me, the email is in the description down below as well. It's just kangatvshow@gmail.com. I cannot wait for what's to come. I'm so excited, and I hope you guys are as well. I'll see you soon.